Well, it looks like biological women are being put through the ringer battling a pretend feminist named Megan Rapinoe. I don't understand what's wrong with Meg Rapinoe. Perhaps she's just bitter she wasn't born with a woke weena. She announces her retirement, but she won't go away. My inside sources tell me she applied to join Club Shay Shay. The upcoming World Cup is going to be her last, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to miss her blue-haired ass. Oh, Meg Rapinoe! My favorite tomboy, my favorite pretend feminist, the ultimate pretender. Just last week, Megan Rapinoe disappointed the spanker wankers while also brightening the spirits of normal people by announcing that she was retiring from soccer. No more playing in front of dozens of fans in the NWSL. No more entertaining a couple of 100,000 people on TV with her magically changing hair at the World Cup. No more showing up to the ESPY Awards in a tuxedo that she borrowed from Travis Noah. Megan Rapinoe finally decided that she was flying off into the sunset with her wife Tweety Bird. Maggie Sue. They have big plans for retirement. They have immediate plans to conceive a batch of fresh eggs and nurture those precious birds until it's time for them to leave the nest. They're excited to grow old together. They are ready to reach the point in life where Meg will no longer have to dye her hair gray. It will just come naturally. The mainstream sports media, they have been in absolute agony since Megan Rapinoe announced her retirement. For us normal people, this couldn't come soon enough. As a society, we have a tendency to immortalize athletes. We have a tendency to remember the legends. No one's ever going to forget the greatness of Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Kobe Bryant. Obviously, can't forget about my boy Drew Brees. We remember athletes for what they accomplished on the field, the memories they gave us. That is not how Megan Rapinoe is going to be remembered. Megan Rapinoe's not famous because she's an amateur soccer player. No one's going to remember her for her decades-long career in the NWSL. 10 years from now, no one's going to look back and say, remember when Megan Rapinoe was dominant and won the World Cup? No one cares. Megan Rapinoe's famous. Megan Rapinoe is worshipped by the media because of her activism. And the thing is, she's not even original. She copied her strategy from Colin Kaepernick. Just because Megan Rapinoe is retiring from soccer, it does not mean she is retiring from work. This is Meggie retiring from her part-time job so she can focus 100% of her efforts on her real job, her full-time job, and the work's already begun. Recently, Megan Rapinoe was interviewed by Time magazine. Why? Hell if I know. Time magazine, they used to interview important people. They used to feature presidents, prime ministers, other world leaders. Now they're wasting time interviewing a woman who does everything she can to look like a man. Naturally, this interview was nothing but a puff piece. There was no resistance. There was no pressing Meggie on her twisted views. Time spent a portion of the interview fawning over Megan Rapinoe and her supposed accomplishments. Oh, Meg, I worship at your hairy feet. You have done so much for women. Remember the time you filed a lawsuit to give women the right to collect money they haven't earned? That was so legendary. Remember the time you dyed your beard in every color of the rainbow? That was such a powerful message. Megan Rapinoe is a walking contradiction. On one cucumber, she pretends to fight for equal pay for women. And when I say equal pay, I mean the men do all the work, while Megan Rapinoe sits in her nest with the Sue Bird and collects the money. On the other cucumber, Megan Rapinoe is actively fighting for the demise of women's sports. The timing of this is rather ironic. 5-10 years ago, I don't remember hearing Meggie fighting for men to be involved in women's sports. What I do remember is a group of actual prepubescent boys kicking her ass on the soccer field. If I remember correctly, Meg and her team of activists on the U.S. women's team, they competed against a group of middle school boys. And they got shut out, couldn't score one damn goal. But with Meg retiring, she suddenly has very, very strong feelings about Leah Thomas having the right to grease the propeller in the women's locker room. She's not worried about the rights of the women who are exposed to the bulge. She's only worried about the rights of the bulge. Now, I'm not a trained psychologist or psychiatrist, but maybe this is a little bit of projection. Perhaps Meg is fighting for the rights of the pretenders because she is a pretender herself. According to Time magazine, Megan Rapinoe is tired of the resistance. She's tired of normal people fighting transgender involvement in sports. I'm so tired of the argument that you're taking away a real woman's spot. That is extremely transphobic. I see trans women as real women. That's how I feel. I'm Megan Rapinoe. Well, that's fine, Meggie. You've got every right to feel that way, but here's the thing. No one gives a shit about your feelings. No one cares. If you feel so strongly about mixing genders in sports, why don't you go play for the men's team? I mean, you've been trying to convince us that you can be a man anyway. You've been trying to convince us that you have the same athletic ability as your male counterparts. You've been claiming that men have no physical advantage over women. Why don't we test this theory? I'm not even talking about testing it scientifically because we already know the answer there. Why don't we give this the eye test? We keep seeing these ridiculous celebrity boxing matches. Why don't we have Megan Rapinoe get involved since she likes to involve herself with everything else? Put Meggie in the ring against a man her size. Then come back and tell me, Meg, that men don't have a physical advantage. The interview, it then moved towards the topic of fairness, which, if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know there's no such thing as fairness in sports or in life in general. Is it fair that LeBron James is athletically superior to 99% of the other players in the NBA? Is it fair that Drew Brees is the most accurate quarterback in the history of the NFL, while Andy Dalton, he can't land a pass in the Pacific Ocean while he's standing on the shoreline? Megan Rapinoe, she tried to flip the script on this argument of fairness. Oh, now we want to talk about fairness? Now we care about women's sports? That's bullshit! And show me all the trans people who are infiltrating women's sports. It's just not happening. For starters, to answer your question, no, we don't really care about women's sports. It wouldn't bother me if the WNBA shut down tomorrow. Matter of fact, I would buy tickets to watch it burn. I'd even use kerosene instead of gasoline so I'm entertained for longer. I don't care about the LPGA. I don't care about women's college basketball. Damn sure don't care about the NWSL. My time is valuable. When I spend that valuable time watching sports, I want to watch the best compete against the best. That's why I prefer the NFL and the NBA over college football and basketball. Why would I waste my time watching one, maybe two NFL caliber players in a big matchup in the SEC when I can watch 22 actual NFL players on Sunday? Female athletes are not elite when compared to men. That's not my opinion, it's just the truth. Some people like watching women's sports, and that's perfectly fine. They're just not my thing. But here's what I do care about. I care about the women who are competing in female sports. Just because I don't watch doesn't mean I don't think they deserve to be given the opportunity. They shouldn't have those opportunities taken away by men. Megan Rapinoe, she just destroyed her own argument. In this interview with Time magazine, she alluded to the fact that there's not many transgender women trying to compete in women's sports. And that's true. That's true. This is also why it's national news when it happens. When you look at this on a large scale, there's only, I don't know, maybe one, maybe 24 or so transgender athletes trying to compete in women's sports. There are millions of female athletes in this country, only 12 or so transgender female athletes. With that being the case, why are we even talking about this? How come 99.9% of female athletes are being asked to accommodate 0.01%? Hell, they're not even being asked anymore. They are being forced into compliance. They either comply or they don't compete. The interview shifted towards violence against the transgender community. KC, what violence? I don't remember hearing about any violence against transgender people. Me either. Me either. Unfortunately, Megan Rapinoe doesn't provide any examples, which is par for the course when you have a PhD in shitfuckery from Woke U. They never provide any substance to their argument. They just expect us to take their word for it. I looked through the list of people I trust. Megan Rapinoe ain't on it. I'll never trust a woman who's almost 40 years old and styles her hair like a teenage boy. Even though Meg doesn't provide examples, she did provide someone to blame for this mythical violence. According to Megan Rapinoe, it's all Dave Chappelle's fault. Dave Chappelle? You mean to tell me a comedian is to blame for violence that you can't give examples of? Megan Rapinoe claimed Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people leads to violence. Really? Really? When? When? When did a harmless joke lead to violence? If that's the case, Donald Trump should be in permanent hiding. There are jokes made every day about Donald Trump. Orange man bad. Same goes with John Biden. Same goes with the pretend vice president cackling Kamala. In my 38 years on this earth, I have never once heard of comedy leading to violence. I always thought comedy led to laughter. Megan Rapinoe doesn't provide examples because she doesn't have any examples. Yesterday, Riley Gaines challenged Megan Rapinoe to a debate. Riley Gaines recently joined Outkick and will be launching a podcast. Now, I don't know why she would join Outkick to do this when she could just do it on her own, but hey, if that's what she wants to do, good for Riley Gaines. But she challenged Megan Rapinoe to a debate on transgender involvement in sports. Obviously, this would not be much of a debate. It would be a public massacre, which is why Megan Rapinoe is completely ignoring the invitation. She knows she can't defend her views. Riley Gaines knows a lot about this topic. She lived it. She was in the locker room when Leah Thomas was gassing up the propeller. She had her spot stolen in the NCAA championship so they could make room for Queen Kong. This retirement announcement last week, it does not mean Megan Rapinoe is going away. I wish it did, but it doesn't. It means she's going to be more involved. She is going to try to further damage women's sports. After all, it no longer affects her personally. She's already collected all her minimum wage from the NWSL. She's already received her endorsement deals. If we were going to allow transgender involvement in sports, we should have done this 10 years ago, because then we would have never heard of Megan Rapinoe. She would be working the drive-thru at Dairy Queen, advocating for the name to be changed to Dairy King. But give me your thoughts. Megan Rapinoe retires from soccer to pursue a career as a woke political activist. What are the chances that she accepts this debate invitation from Riley Gaines? I'm going to go with 0. What about you? Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, you guys know the drill at this point. If you come across a topic that's pertinent to the channel, or if you just want to reach out, shoot me an email, btlkc84@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at kc_btl84. See you guys later.